Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. You all know by now that I love the Oris 65. What you don't know that I love the Oris 65? Well, allow me to explain. At the beginning of last year, I purchased a used blue-black dial Oris 65 and I loved it. That was the one that I told my wife the price in US dollars rather than Australian dollars, but it didn't work and I still spent the night on the couch. I then made a terrible mistake of going watch shopping and I spotted a brand new Deauville dial one in the shops on special. So I flipped the blue-black dial, I bought the Deauville dial and I loved it. Had that one for about 6 months and then another terrible thing happened. A friend of mine told me that a friend of his had the brand new super hot 2018 Baselworld edition with the bronze bezel. So I flipped the Deauville dial and I bought the bronze bezel edition. Now that's 3 Oris 65s over the course of 12 months. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jody, you've bloody done it again. You've flipped that bronze bezel that you said you would love forever and you've picked up the new bi-colour bronze and stainless steel with the blue dial. Well, yes and no. This is actually a loaner. This was sent to me for review by Oris Australia. I've got about 4 or 5 days with it before I have to send it back. So the two questions today are, is there such a thing as too much bronze? And if not, is my bronze bezel Oris 65 on a shaky nail? Let's flip the camera and find out. Sponsored content alert. This video is not, as you might expect, sponsored by Oris. I'm not receiving any compensation for making it. This is rather sponsored by my undying love of the Oris 65. That should be clear from the intro. I've spoken about it before. It's not a dollar dazzler. It's not got a fantastic set of specs. It's not all that cheap when you look at what goes into it. But it's vintage done right. I think it's a super versatile, very wearable watch, a great kind of one watch collection, a great watch if you're moving up from the $500 range. You're pushing over $1,000. I think this one should definitely be on your shopping list. But should the new bi-colour blue dial be the Oris 65 that you go for? Let's dig into it. Looking at the Oris website, you can see what they've done. They've taken a design that was a big hit, initially just the black dial with the Arabics, and they've expanded and expanded and expanded the range. There's a 42, there's a 40, there's a 36. They introduced that bronze bezel last year. You can now get the bronze bezel with a red dial and with a green dial, I believe. And this year at Baselworld, arguably one of the stars of Baselworld was this watch, blue dial and bi-colour bronze. Now I've looked at a couple of two-tone watches on the channel so far. I looked at the Tudor S&G, the steel and gold. That one had 18 karat gold capped mid-links. I then looked at the Rolex Submariner two-tone. That one had solid 18 karat gold mid-links. Both of them had price tags to match. This one is much more reasonable. It comes in at 2,200 Swiss francs, which is roughly 2,200 US dollars. Though you'd be doing yourself an injustice if you didn't nudge your Oris dealer for a bit of a deal. At least ask what could be done on that price. Now, rather than the bronze bezel, they've stuck with a stainless steel bezel. It's the 40mm diameter case shape. They've kept the rose gold IP coated indices and hands that my other one has got, but they've put a bronze bezel insert and they've used what appear to be solid bronze mid-links as well. When I first saw the bi-colour, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I wasn't sure how I felt about having the big bronze ring and then the bronze stripe down the middle of the bracelet. When a bronze watch comes fresh out of the packet, it looks like this. It is super shiny, super bright, and it can be a little bit confronting initially. But give it about 6 months and it looks like this. It begins to dull, to tarnish, to fleck here and there. It is constantly shifting. Every single day your watch will look different from the day before. Now, my bronze bezel Oris 65 is about 6 months old now, and you can see there's some lovely kind of green corrosion in that bezel. Nice kind of dark bronze colour. So this is what the bi-colour will look like given some kind of natural patina time. a bit of water, some fingerprints here and there as well, changes in pH and salinity. So I'm happier seeing one of these bicolors with the bronze mid-links after a few months and after plenty of finger handling on these. This one's dulling down. I guess this one hasn't been in and out of water. It looks very, very fresh. Just a couple of scuffs on the bracelet clasp. That was probably me though, if I'm being honest. I think this one would benefit from a bit of natural patina in and out of a pool, maybe some salt water. I think it would look cracking. As that bronze continues to dull and tarnish, you get a really nice contrast with the dial as it ages. So 40mm diameter, 47mm lug tip to lug tip, only 12.5mm thick, so nice and slim in spite of that big Superdome sapphire crystal. 20mm lug width, tapering all the way down to about 13.5, back up to 15.5mm at the clasp. Lovely vintage style riveted bracelet. I think it just wears superbly. Interestingly, the bronze one is no heavier than the all stainless steel one. This comes in at 122 grams on my 7-inch wrist, sized for me. Big part of the personal appeal of the Oris 65 for me is that weight. 20-30 grams lighter than some of the traditional sports watches that hit that 150 gram spot. Being a diver, albeit with only 100 meters of water resistance, legibility is a key. Nice clean applied indices, well proportioned handset and a lollipop second hand, always nicely identifiable. Love the way the Oris 65, they incorporate the date frame down at the 6 o'clock on this particular model. Nicely integrated, far better than cutting a hole in the dial at the 3, that's for sure. And that blue dial, bronze, stainless steel, rose gold, all those colour tones really begin to come together when you take this watch outside and get it into some natural light. And as discussed, it's going to be constantly changing. It's never going to be quite the same watch from one day to the next. And that's part of the joy of owning a bronze, or at least a partially bronze watch, is that constant state of flux from the watch on your wrist. The Oris 65 is powered by the Oris Caliber 733 movement. Essentially a Sellita SW200-1 with a dirty grey red Oris rotor slapped on the back of it. All three of mine have performed very, very consistently. That's been their strength, plus or minus 10 seconds per day. They quote a bigger margin for these, they quote a larger margin of error, but I found them all to run very, very consistently. Let's see how this one gets on. Yeah, there we are. No complaints about that variance. Probably my biggest gripe with the 65 though is the lume. It's not fantastic. C3 old radium, it's got that kind of dull green look, but there isn't an awful lot of it. I thought that moving from the printed Deauville dial to this style of model with the indices would help, but it didn't really help all that much. You know, it's usable, but it's not outstanding. But the lume is a minor inconvenience when you look at this watch as an overall package. I do like the bicolor. Seeing one with a bit of age on it has definitely reassured me. It's changed my mind. I thought it was a bit bright initially, but this one looks great. One word of warning though, the links are all the way through. They're kind of solid links. If you've got super sensitive skin, there's a reason that bronze watches always have stainless steel case backs. If you've got sensitive skin, if you don't react well to exotic materials, probably best avoid this one. Maybe go for the bronze bezel one instead. This might be just too much bronze on or near your skin for comfort. So is there such a thing as too much bronze? No, I don't think so. I think Oris have done something very sensible with the 65 here. They brought to the market a Swiss-made two-tone watch that doesn't cost you £6 because it uses bronze and not gold, and one that is going to be a dynamic entity for that fact. Am I going to trade in my bronze bezel one? Not yet. What I might do, I might hang around and see what dial colours they do. This, I think, with a green dial, might be very, very hard for me to resist. I'm resisting the temptation so far. Let's see how long it lasts. So there you have it, another year, another stunning Oris 65 released at Baselworld. If you haven't already sampled one of these Oris 65s, I urge you to head out to your local watch shop and at least try one on. There is just a magic about them that I haven't found in all that many other watches. It's not a spec monster, you don't get a hell of a lot of bells and whistles for your money, but you get a beautifully resolved design and a very, very wearable watch. This two-tone, the Bico with the blue dial, perhaps the least wearable of all of the 65s. Maybe the Deauville dial would rival it there though. But bicolour is so hot right now, as is bronze. You combine the two together and they're on to a killer watch. Am I going to flip my bronze bezel and pick up one of these? Stay tuned for a future video. Thanks for watching. See you then, if not before.